This is my 2021 Toyota Prius L Eco, and you very well may be watching the first ever video on YouTube showing how to install a cold air intake in a Toyota Prius. Now yes, I know what you keyboard warriors are saying, it's not technically a cold air intake, it's a short ram intake, or a hot air intake if you're annoying, but I don't care. Because cold air intake gets more views, and people use it as an umbrella term anyway, so. And mine's not gonna always stay as just a short ram intake. I do have more planned for this intake that will be in a future video, but it won't be done for a while, because it is a lot. But it works, it's cheap, let's get right into it. Now mine's gonna look slightly different from the rest of you guys, but when you open the hood, you should usually see this airbox right here with the mass airflow sensor and some kind of band holding it together. Now the first thing that you're going to want to do is press down on a little tab back here at the back of the mass airflow sensor and pull that off. Just like that, it comes straight off. Next you're going to want to take a screwdriver and take out the screws here and here. Now this one's missing, I don't know why, but less work for me, I guess. And once you do that, take out the mass airflow sensor and put it in a spot where it will not be damaged. Then after that, you're going to want to take these two tabs and pop them off. Undo whatever kind of clamp is holding the airbox on, and then it should just slide right out. Except this time, instead of just lifting it up to replace the filter, we're going to remove this. We will not need this anymore. We're going to be keeping the bottom half of the stock airbox because that will be funneling at least a little bit of cold air into the short ram intake. Now on most other cars you'll probably be able to just buy the part that you need for this, but for mine I unfortunately had to make it myself, but that's lucky for any of you who want to do this because now the part is already made and I will have it available in the description completely free. So the next part we're using is this little MAF sensor mount that I made. This is actually version 8 of this. I made a short about a week ago that was showing that I couldn't get the cold air intake to work, and it turns out this was the problem. I had the diameter of this way too big, so the same amount of air was going into the engine, but it was way lower pressure, meaning that the sensor wasn't working correctly. Now it's completely fixed, and you can download the file yourself and print it if you need to, but if you don't have a Toyota Prius and you're doing this on a different modern car, there is a fair chance that you will be able to just buy the part yourself, but it may be a little more expensive. Now we're going to take this part and the mass airflow sensor, and we're going to put the sensor inside of it. Next we'll take these two long bolt screws that I got at Ace Hardware and thread them into the holes, and you can see it's a perfect fit. Now there is a gap right here, but that'll be fixed when we actually tighten down the bolts. Now what I like doing next is taking the inside part of that and putting a washer on top of each of the bolts. I like putting a little washer on top of each of the bolts. That will allow you to tighten it a little bit more, make a little bit of a better seal than if it was just the nut. So it is by no means an absolutely perfect seal, but it should not be bad enough that you will have any kind of vacuum leak. Next, I reach in there with the nut, which I'm not doing on camera because it is very hard to coordinate, and then I just tighten it down by hand, and after this, I will be tightening it with the screwdriver. Now I've got both of them in, that's what it looks like on the inside, and now it's time to tighten them. And you can really see once I start to tighten it, the mass airflow sensor rubber compresses a bit. And when it does that, we know that we're getting a pretty good seal. Now this is by no means perfect, but this is absolutely the best you can get for the cost. The next part that we're doing is the filter. So we're going to take the part that we made and our filter, and we're going to put them together just like that. It's that simple. Now if you are doing a full-on cold air intake or you're doing a different size of filter, also linked in the description, it's the exact same link, I will have a different version of this MAF sensor mount tube that will be meant to basically just not go into a funnel like this. It'll just be straight, or you could just use this part. But you can run the mass airflow sensor pipe into tubing, which then goes to the filter. So next, take your comically large screwdriver and use it to tighten this bolt that's on the hose clamp. Now that it's tight, we should have a nice tight fit. This is not going anywhere. And next, we put this in place, push it into the little inlet from before, which mine is slightly incorrect proportions, but the one in the description will be fixed, so it will be much better to put into that pipe piece, and it should work perfectly fine. And then we're going to tighten that one up. And finally, plug in the mass airflow sensor. And there you go. That is the very simple way to install what is probably the most basic form of cold air intake or short ram intake in your Toyota Prius. For most modern cars, it will be a fairly similar process with a few slight differences. But of course, this is not a one-size-fits-all scenario. And just to go above and beyond, I'm going to take some of this metal strapping right here, and I'm going to use it to help support the cold air intake just a little bit more. Now there's absolutely better ways that you can support a cold air intake, but for now, I'm just gonna leave it like that. But anyway, let's get in and see how it sounds. All right, so we'll get in the car, we'll hit start, and now, alright, so we know that this cold air intake works perfectly. And now that I'm looking at it, I am probably going to get rid of this metal right here because it doesn't look very good. Now you might have noticed the strange design of cold air intake that I went with. And you absolutely don't need to go for a design that has a hole in it like I did. But I did this for a future idea that I had, which will hopefully be in a video eventually. And there we go. I did end up taking off the ugly metal piece, so now it looks a lot better. And let's go drive and test it out. So now I've given the mass airflow sensor a bit more time to adjust, and it's working absolutely perfectly with the filter. Now of course it can be better, but that's for a future video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, and please subscribe, because it turns out less than 5% of you are actually subscribed, so please do that.